repercussions. I'm pleased to welcome to the program live now Ernesto Castaneda. He is the founding director of the Immigration Lab and the director of the Center for Latin American and Latino Studies at the American University in Washington, D.C. Hello to you, and thank you for speaking to us.
Hello, Nadia. Thank you.
Can I just ask you, first of all, for your reaction when you saw that footage? I mean, it's pretty graphic, isn't it?
It is. It's unfortunate. There were a lot of bystanders, a lot of people protesting, a lot of people blowing their whistles to let the neighbors know that there was a heavy ICE presence in the neighborhood. Because of that, a lot of people were filming these from different angles. And then a lot of the neighbors that were looking at these from their windows were also able to talk to the media later and communicate what happened. And it's very unfortunate. It's very sad because it was an innocent person. She was unarmed. And the worst part here is that by all lights, it seems that this shooting was unnecessary, that it was an excessive use of force from this agent.
Yeah, and as you say, the woman who's been killed was unarmed. Nonetheless, though, the Secretary of Homeland Security, as we saw in our report there, described this as an act of domestic terrorism. How does she justify that?
That claim seems exaggerated. We don't know anything about the background from this person. According to the people that know her, she was a very nice person, a civilian. If anything, she was probably being part of civil disobedience. That is peaceful protest. There's a long history of that in the U.S. Since the 1960s. There's a lot of history of that in Minneapolis, where George Floyd was killed a few blocks from where this incident happened. As we saw yesterday, there were a lot of protests, a lot of people shouting things at the agents, but the protests were, for the most part, peaceful, or they were damaging property, but there were no physical attacks against any agents. As you know, there's a lot of guns in America, and none of the protesters used any firepower against the issues. So this is not an issue of terrorism. This is an issue of citizens protecting their immigrant neighbors and being against the sudden presence of over 2,000 federal agents that showed after taunting messages on social media, for example, saying good morning in Minneapolis, announcing the largest raid in history.
Yes, and as you mentioned, this killing took place really not far at all from where George Floyd was murdered by a police officer back in 2020. That, of course, sparked a mass movement, an anti-racist movement, a anti-police movement as well. We just saw live footage a few moments ago of fresh anger today on the streets of Minneapolis. Do you think we're going to see sort of wider unrest now, more protest against ICE and against Donald Trump?
This is unfortunate event reminded the community in Minneapolis about the excessive use of force from agents of the state, right, from police forces. In that case against George Floyd, it was local police. Since then, it's been some years since then, there's been a lot of effort from the mayor, from the chief of police, and from police officers to improve their relations with the community and to decrease their use of violence and profiling as they interact, especially with African American and communities of color. So while that situation was improving, then suddenly you have ACE agents, Border Patrol agents, and other federal agents that maybe have not been properly trained in de-escalation, in community policing, in facing these protesters in such a violent way. We also saw video yesterday of officers shooting gas canisters very close to people's faces to try to have them dissipate when they were just protesting their disgust at the killing of their neighbor. So yes, I expect the protests to continue, the marches, but there were also people yesterday singing in the streets, pastors calming people down. And we saw a strong language from the mayor, from the chief of police, from the governor of Minnesota, asking for justice, asking ICE to leave the city, but also asking all the citizens and residents of Minneapolis to remain calm and to avoid any violent confrontation that could escalate things and make things worse.
And look, just a final question for you. This has been the 9th ICE shooting since September of last year. 2 of those, I believe, at least, were fatal shootings. Do you think ICE has changed how it operates under the Trump administration? Has it become emboldened now?
Excellent question, Nadia. Yes, unfortunately, this is not the first time this happens. They have killed people, Latinos, that they presume to be undocumented immigrants. And if they drove away, a couple of them have been shot and there have been other casualties. Also, people in detention have died. So this quote unquote war on immigrants is not a war without casualties. And whether ICE has learned from these lessons and has escalated and improve their policing and the way they actually track and find dangerous individuals, not just random community members. Things have gotten worse, actually, by words like that from the Secretary of Homeland Security. It emboldens them to continue this, and they are sending more people, sometimes protected by National Guards or the Marines in the case of LA. And it's going to get worse because there's more funding coming down the line for them to quickly hire more agents and have this larger number of people being deployed at the same time, which is only a recipe for more escalation. A lot of people have been warning that this was meant to happen. So unless there's direction from the White House to change tactics, things are going to continue like this for a while.
All right, Ernesto Castaneda from the Center of Latin American and Latino Studies at the American University in DC. Good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.